So there are ways to work around. So it's not completely just, oh, a teacher's gonna get it, and the whole class is doing without a teacher.
So are you going to have the debate? I think we're streaming live now. So we're going to go ahead and end the rebuttals. Great energy. I'm so excited for you all. I'm going to ask the engineer to let me know when I can go ahead and begin. Good afternoon and welcome to Destiny Driven's second segment of That's Debatable. Today's debatable topic is going to be on a very hot, controversial subject: should schools reopen in the fall? We know that this is a subject that affects so many people. We have parents who are concerned about their kids going to school and wondering if a mask is going to be enough. We have teachers that are concerned about virtual learning and seeing if they are prepared to actually create vigorous and rigorous lessons for our students. And we have a great panel on today that's going to help us get some clarity, and not only clarity, but help calm our spirits about what's going on. I'm so excited for this debate, and I'm excited to have you on here today. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our panel, and then after that, we're going to get into the debate. We have Ms. Erica Smith from the school board. We have Ms. Williams from Black Alabamians of Education. Coming on a little bit later, we have Ms. Bennett, and she is the founder of Women in Training. And we also have Ms. Sanders, who is a virtual learning consultant. We have two students from 4 different schools competing today. On the affirmative side, we have Michaela McDonald, and she is representing Lamp Magnet High. And then we have Negay Fall, who is representing Jefferson Davis High School. As I call these schools out, if you're an alumnus of that school, or if you go to that school now, go ahead and give us some likes and some comments, represent the school that you're from. And also on the negative side, we have Miss Haley Mullins. She's representing Brubaker Technical Magnet School. And then we have Maya Boyd representing Carver. This is a hot topic, and these students have researched this topic front and back. They've researched the affirmative, researched the negative, and they're going to bring you an exciting debate today. So I'm really excited. And also, I do want to go ahead and introduce our co-host. He is Mr. Story. At this time, if he can unmute himself and introduce himself, and then we'll jump into the debate.
Greetings, everybody. It's a pleasure to be on this debate today. I'm Kanate Story from Baltimore, Maryland, a mass communication major at Bethune-Cookman University, where I served as the past student body vice president. I'm a part of 11 student organizations on my campus, and I hold 3 e-board positions. I'm so excited today to hear our youth debate about a very power-driven topic, something that impacts us all. And I'm excited to be on with Destiny Driven, who has continuously done great events. So I'm excited.
And we are so excited to have you. And most importantly, we're excited to have the community. This is a community debate. And as we talked about before, this is not only impacting our community, but it's impacting communities across the nation. So we're excited because we've heard from so many different perspectives. As a teacher, my teacher friends have been talking about it. I know you all have been talking about it at home. Employees are talking about it. Politicians are talking about it. But no one has really taken the time to hear the perspectives of the students. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to ask that you listen. We're going to ask that you engage. And to encourage your engagement, we do have some prizes for you. We have cash prizes. We really want you to, if the kids say something that you agree with, let them know. Comment down below. If they say something that you don't agree with, comment down below. If you're thinking of a point and they don't bring it up, let us know down below. We have some prizes. We have $25 gift cards. We have $50 gift cards. And we also have some big ones that we're going to give out in the end. We have a Echo Dot. Since we're spending a lot of time at home, I don't know about you, but I love listening to music. So this allows you to blast your music as loud as your parents let you blast it with the Echo Dot. We're doing a lot of Zoom calls right now. We're on a Zoom call. So we also have some headphones for you from Amazon. And then the big one is some AirPods. So we want to encourage you to please comment, encourage our kids, send a lot of likes, a lot of love, and let them know that they're doing something that's important and something that's impactful. Without any further ado, before we get started, I do want us to send a quick prayer out to to Coach Calvin. He's not going to be with us today, so I'm going to have to be the judge. He did have a family emergency, so we do want the praying part of the community to go ahead and pray for him and wish him and his family a speedy recovery. And without any further ado, we're going to hop right into the debate. On the affirmative, the affirmative is arguing that schools should reopen in the fall, and that's going to be Michaela McDonald and Negay Fall arguing that. The negative is going to argue that schools should not reopen, and they're arguing for virtual school, and that is going to be Haley Mullins and Maya Boyd. Throughout the debate, they will give their constructive. The constructive is basically their speech, and then they're going to have their cross-examination. So if you ever watch a Law and Order show, they argue back and forth and ask questions, they're going to do that. So I just want to outline it for those who haven't seen a debate before. And then, but without any further ado, we're going to jump right into it. So we're going to start with the first affirmative construction with Michaela McDonald.
Good evening, everyone. This speech is for debate purposes only. The opinions and contentions expressed in this speech do not reflect the views of me or my family. Who am I going to get to babysit? Can I even afford daycare? Is she going to be okay? Who's going to watch her? Will I even be able to afford a computer? Will my child be safe at home? These are questions that many parents and guardians may have to ask themselves this school year if children don't go back to school. Schools should be reopened for the 2020-2021 school year for many reasons. There are advantages to in-person school. The CDC states that the in-person school environment not only provides educational instruction, but supports a child's social and emotional skills, safety, speech, mental health, reliable nutrition, and opportunities for physical activity. Lengthy time away from school and associated interruption of supportive services often results in social isolation, making it difficult for schools to identify and address important learning deficits, as well as child and adolescent physical or sexual abuse, substance use, depression, and suicidal ideation. To begin, closing schools would put special needs at a disadvantage. Special needs children are served better from in-person school. According to the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, children who qualify for special needs services in schools legally must possess difficulties with one or more of the following: a serious emotional disturbance, a learning difference, intellectual disability, being diagnosed on the spectrum of autism, vision and hearing impairments, physical disabilities, developmental delays, including speech and language difficulties, and other health impairments. Under the IDEA, or Individuals with Disabilities Act, children with special needs have access to a free public education with insured services for those children. Closing schools would mean that another individual, other than the certified or licensed instructor, would have to learn how to properly care for their special needs child. Receiving certifications or a license requires 4 years and approximately 120 credits. This would be extra work for all parents and guardians of special needs children. Moreover, the children who use school as an escape from their abusive lives at home will be put in even more danger. What about Sarah, who was beaten by her drunken mother? What about Taylor, who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather? What about Billy, who feels like he doesn't even have anyone because his parents have neglected him? The CDC states that at least 1 in 7 children have experienced child abuse and or neglect in the past year. And this is likely an underestimate. In 2018, nearly 1,770 children died, meaning they're not here anymore, of abuse and neglect in the United States. Rates of child abuse and neglect are 5 times higher for children in families with low socioeconomic status compared to children in families with higher socioeconomic status. Making kids stay at home would put some children in an already unsafe environment than it already is. Parents whose families don't have Wi-Fi or access to a computer will also have to think about spending money on needed technology rather than the essentials, such as food, bills, and shelter. Families who are on welfare or receive other government assistance will be put in a tough position as to their child's needs of survival. The choice will come down to this: mac and cheese or the new MacBook, please? Who would pay for the technology? Parents and guardians who are unemployed can barely afford food and their essential necessities. Pew Research Center states that even without a financial emergency, many Americans say they have trouble paying for their monthly bills without a pandemic. About 1 in 4 adults, 24%, say they cannot pay some of their bills or even make a partial payment on them in a typical month. A larger share, 32%, say they won't be able to pay their bills this month. Overall, 43% of U.S. adults now say that they or someone in their household has lost a job or taken a cut in pay due to the outbreak, up from 33% in the latter half of March. Among lower income adults and even higher, say they or someone in their household has experienced this type of job upheaval. Therefore, we can't expect children whose families pertain to these cases to spend money that they don't possess on educational technology. Furthermore, many teachers have not undergone virtual training to most effectively teach students the necessary material. The Hetchinger report says that many teachers are improvising and counting on patience from parents and students as they transition to online learning on the fly. Jennifer Math, the chief executive officer of the Boston-based Learning Consortium, said, "The biggest problem is there is not enough time to really do the training that a teacher needs to understand how to teach online. Due to lack of training, teachers would not be as effective virtually than online." Another reason is that children have different learning styles. Learning styles include auditory, kinesthetic, reading and writing, and visual. Attending school in person appeals to each student's learning styles. Virtual schooling would rather provide difficulty for students with learning styles that wouldn't be present, such as kinesthetic. Teachers may be most effective in teaching subjects that include experiments like chemistry, statistics, and art. Also, virtual schooling would further provide difficulty for monitoring academic integrity. Taking tests, quizzes, or other graded assignments at home would allow cheating and communication during these assignments to increase, as there is no secure way to monitor a child. Due to the increased use of technology, children will be able to better communicate with children in the classroom and cheat. Finally, in addition, the constant use of technology would affect the development of people's brains. A computer history museum panel on our brain's development in a technological world with neuroscientist Adam Gazzaley and numerous others stated that multitasking continued to be brought up as one of the largest negative effects of our technology. Our need to look at multiple screens for a variety of purposes and tasks has affected our ability to learn, reason, and remember because of our inability to truly focus on numerous things at once. Mayo Health Clinic system recommends 1 to 2 hours screen time daily. Being on a computer screen for half of the day for 5 days a week would slowly destroy a child's developmental health. Most children growing up in today's age have heard the phrase, "You always on your phone," or "get off that phone." Parents and doctors encourage their children to get off of technology and do something more productive with their lives. Going back to school would lessen the use of that phrase and allow kids to resume back to in-person learning, which is more healthier for them. Thank you.
Great round, great round. All of y'all are watching. If you can, go ahead and send some love to Michaela. That was a really good round. So let's get 20 seconds of a whole lot of likes, a whole lot of loves to let her know that she did a great job. Now we're going to have our negative cross-examination where anyone on the negative side can cross-examine her. And you have, ladies, you have 3 minutes for that, starting now.
Okay, you mentioned safety, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay, how is it safe to send students back to school with numbers still rising?
Numbers are still rising, but at the same time, if we follow social distancing and if we follow CDC guidelines, such as wearing a mask, which what we saw with one example, even right here in the city, that if we wore masks, according to WSFA, that numbers reduce.
Okay, well, schools were shut down in March when numbers weren't even higher than 5. So if they were shut down then, why is it safe to open back with thousands of numbers now?
It is safe, but at the same time, when that disease, when the coronavirus first came to the US, it was new. No one knew what to do about it. We've been in quarantine and had this disease around for about 5 months now. The CDC has come out, the experts of our nation and the World Health Organization has come out and said, okay, if we follow this, then it should reduce the risk of coronavirus.
Yeah, it said if you should follow this, it should risk, but not everyone is going to follow it to decrease numbers.
Just because it's not everyone, you said the phrase not everyone, but what about the people that do? Sending children back to school, knowing that there's a whole pandemic on the rise, knowing that their life is on the line, I'm sure you would follow what your experts and people will tell you.
If their life is on the line, then how is it safe to send those students back to school?
Even if their life is on the line, I do agree with you on that. But their life is on the line consistently when their parents come back from school, from work. For example, if your mom or dad comes home after work, they could have been exposed to the virus as well. So it's just a matter of being exposed to the virus.
But then again, you have people who's asymptomatic and they don't know that they're exposed to that virus when people around. So how can you ensure that that's safe for them to go to school with asymptomatic people who spreads it to them and they may have a compromised immune system or their parents or grandparents?
I get what you're saying, but at the same time, we've seen that if we wear masks and if we social distance, then the numbers will go down and you're less at a likely risk to contract the virus. Okay,
what is the percent? Do you know the percentage of numbers going down since we've been wearing masks and social distancing?
The percentage of numbers going down has decreased. Personally, even though I do not know the numbers, we've seen that even in our own city, Montgomery, if everyone wore a mask, then it would go. Then the numbers, then the coronavirus numbers would go down. The CDC even said if everyone were to wear a mask, then the numbers would decrease.
The numbers decreased because they had a mask ordinance and they made it mandatory to wear masks. But before, people weren't wearing masks. So therefore, how can you ensure that every student in that school is going to keep their masks on at all times during the day?
And unfortunately, that is time. Ladies, that was a great round. That was an awesome round. So, Michaela, I know you probably have a lot to say, so catch her on the end. And as they are cross-examining each other and asking each other these tough questions, I want you to feel free to go ahead and ask questions in the comments below. If they say something that touches your spirit, go ahead and let us know. We want to hear from you. Now we're going to have our negative construction, and that is with Haley Mullins.
Is education more important? But think, if we're on this call right now, how is it safe to send thousands of students back to school? Quite frankly, it's not safe. And today you will find out why. What it has come down to is health being more important than education. According to the USA News Today, the COVID-19 cases have surpassed 3.7 million. Sending students back to school will increase cases even higher. The CDC states, if you go in person, you must stay 6 feet away and disinfect every item you touch. Considering classrooms are not big enough to social distance each student 6 feet apart. According to the National Center for Educational Statistics, the average classroom size is 26 students. Now take this time to reflect back on when you were in school and wanted to pass notes and interact with your friends. School hasn't even started yet, and in most places around the world, teachers are already testing positive. A teacher at a Memphis charter school reported testing positive for COVID-19 2 days after starting mandatory in-person training. In Northern California, dozens of educators were asked to quarantine after they were exposed to COVID-19 during an in-person school reopening meeting. If teachers and administrators and leaders of the school are testing positive and are exposed to COVID-19, do you really think it's safe to send your child back to school? Healthline states it takes 66 days on average to form a habit. Therefore, referring to disinfecting every item you touch throughout the day, recommended by the CDC, you have to disinfect it. It can be very hard to remember. So why not wait those 66 days rather than sending students back to school and putting more stress on them to worry about work and disinfecting each item you touch? The CDC also states avoid public transportation. And unfortunately, some students have to ride the bus due to certain circumstances, such as parents having to go to work or no at-home transportation at all. And in text from American school and university, 25 million kids ride the bus. Therefore, the only way they can get to school is riding the bus, which again is impossible to social distance on a school bus and keep it sanitary. Most bus drivers have at least 3 different groups of students per day. And even some have to make several stops to pick up different groups of students for one destination. COVID-19 spreads mainly among people who are in close contact within about 6 feet for a prolonged period, which the average bus route is 24 minutes. To protect ourselves, the CDC stated to stay at home as much as possible and away from others. So if the CDC is advising you to stay home, why not listen to the experts of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention? Spread happens when an infected person coughs, sneezes, or talks, and droplets from their mouth or nose are launched into the air and lands in mouth or noses or of people nearby. As suggested, you wear a mask to protect yourself, but every student cannot be accounted for. You have students who may want to play and joke around and pull down their mask, although they think they may not have it, but be asymptomatic. It is not 100% sure that each student will keep their mask on all day as told. Some states have had to make masks mandatory to wear. And not to mention, going to school would expose students and teachers to 300 plus students a day, or even 1,000 plus, or even 2,000 plus, or even 3,000 plus students a day. It just depends on the school. Nevertheless, those who may think they don't have it and could possibly have it due to being asymptomatic and pass it on to another person is a big concern right now. You could have COVID-19 and possibly pass it on to someone who has a very compromised immune system, or even pass it on to someone who takes it home to their elderly parents and or grandparents. Take the time to think how COVID-19 has affected your everyday routine. Most meetings are held online as of right now. Put the children in your shoes and how disruptive this may be for their schedules. They are only kids. It's a must we put them first. Therefore, the only right decision would for them to stay home. If schools close for the rest of the year in March, when the outbreak first started with 1, 2, or even 10 cases in each state, how can sending kids back to school even be considerable with surging cases every single day? The most dangerous thing we can do is open schools prematurely and not put only teachers and students at risk, but their families and society as a whole. Thank you.
I like it. Great round, Haley. Good job. Your points were good. Your intensity was good. I love it. Right now, we're going to give the affirmative some time to get their thoughts together for cross-examination. And I'm going to give it to Mr. Story. Let's hear what they're saying in the comments.
All right, y'all. So first of all, I need you all to tune in. We need more interactions. First of all, I need everybody to get in the comments right now and tell me if you're on the affirmative side right now, if you're on the negative. I need to know exactly how you all are feeling right now. Haley, that was some great points. Michaela had some really great points. So right now, I need you all to go ahead and get in the comments. Let us know if you're feeling the negative, if you're feeling the affirmative, if you think we should send these kids back to school, if we shouldn't. I see earlier we had a lot of HBCU students in the building. So I have to say, I'm proud that you all are joining in. I need you all to start dropping your HBCUs, start dropping your points. I see somebody said, hold on, let's go to, because I seen a really, really good comment. Isaiah Perry Jr., coming from someone who works in the rural county in Alabama, a lot of restrooms do not have hot water nor soap. So now with that, I would say we have to start thinking about what exactly resources we need. What exactly do we need to be doing? And as these females, as these young ladies are saying, as they're debating, they're giving their points, they're giving their point of reasons, but we need to start looking at some true details. We need to start going into further point of actions. As you all see, we're gonna, I'll say one more comment and I'm gonna go ahead and give it back to Ms. Russell.
Okay, well, let's talk about Isaiah's point for a moment, because as a teacher, I think that is extremely important. I taught in this school system for a long time, but I know there's times where kids have gone to the bathroom and then come back and ask me, Miss Russell, can you give me some soap? Because there's no soap in the bathroom. And that's not during the time of pandemic, that's during regular scheduled programs. So now we have a pandemic. How can we, so I think it's really important to see how can we ensure that these kids are going to be safe. We're going to have the materials. We're going to make sure that everyone can be disinfectant when we weren't doing it during the normal time. And then with the disinfectant, our teachers are going to have to pay for those things the same way we pay for papers and school supplies. And I can go on and on and on about what things that teachers have to pay for. Or is it going to be given to us? And if it can be given to us, then we need to really think about why haven't we had these things from the very beginning. Children shouldn't have to carry little things of hand sanitizer to go to the restroom. There should be soap in bathrooms. So I really like that point, and that's something that as adults that we need to think about, because some schools are bringing their kids to school tomorrow. So this is a relevant topic, is going on right now, and I really like that comment. Let's give us another comment, Story.
First of all, we just want to remind you all that we are giving away prizes throughout this live. So we need you all to be as interactive as possible. That's how we're going to be choosing exactly who we're giving these prizes to. Right now, I see a lot of college students in the building. So like I said, once again, we want to thank everybody for tuning in. So what I want to say right now is, where exactly are you all from? Is people in Alabama? I see some people are in Maryland. I see Virginia. I see we have people from all over the place. Please go ahead and comment down exactly where you're from. Also, I need you to invite 3 to 5 people right now to the live, okay? 3 to 5 people right now. This is a very important topic to our youth. This is a very important topic to me, even as a college student, being that my campus is going to be doing a hybrid semester. So I need you all to go ahead and get in tune. Somebody said, what type of cleaning will be effective, would be put in effect during the school day, and how to keep everything safe for our children?
That's a real good one. And hopefully when we talk to the panel, we can come up with some solutions to those questions. So keep on commenting down below. We're going to go ahead and get to the cross-examination. So affirmative, you have 3 minutes. Michaela, unmute yourself, baby.
I do apologize. So Haley, in your argument, you said that classrooms aren't big enough, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, due to the social distancing factor that is suggested to us, we don't necessarily have to use the classroom. Think about when you had school. Think about school auditoriums. Think about, for example, auditoriums. Think about schoolyards, the grass around it, the sidewalk. We could instruct children that way. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a classroom.
So you want students to sit outside and learn a lesson. Some students may have skin conditions. Not all students will be able to be outside the auditorium. How is that a learning environment?
A classroom isn't necessarily what we think of in our head as, oh, it has to have a smart board, or it has to have, markers or a whiteboard or whatever. A classroom is a place where you learn something. It doesn't necessarily have to be the traditional place where, you're with your friends 6 feet apart, what have you. I'm saying we could teach kids and put kids better. Not all kids would be outside, but I'm saying they could be elsewhere other than the classroom. You could utilize the extra space that's in a school.
Well, if you do utilize that extra space, what happens if you run out of that extra space? What are you going to do then?
Even if you were to run out of that space, what I'm saying is, how could a school run out of that space? Can you explain that?
Some schools, for instance, JD has 1,600 students and not enough space already.
I see what you're saying, but at the same time, if we, for example, put with the funding that's coming in, we could set up not necessarily outside classrooms, but I'm saying that we could use other places and have children not necessarily maybe in a trailer learning and still going to school.
You still have to social distance in that extra space or trailer, and the trailer is even extra money. So when you're sending students back to school, you have the resources that are already limited now, so you have to buy those resources to make sure each student stays safe. They have to have masks as well, because some parents can't afford masks, so you have to provide them with masks as well. Now you're saying you have to provide them with extra space that they don't already have, and what if you don't have enough money for that extra space?
But what if they do? We see that the government is handing out funding and relief packages. So if we use that, then the schools use that wisely, we could use that and in place certain measures to make sure that every child is accommodated.
And
CDC
that
states
is
that
time. I'm sorry. I hate cutting y'all off, especially when it starts getting good. But that's time. So keep all of your rebuttals for the next round. At this time, we're gonna put our kids in the breakout room so that they can go ahead and prepare for the next round. So again, that's Michaela and Negay Fall on the affirmative. We have Haley and Maya on the negative. And again, you've heard both sides a little bit. Let us know what you think in the comments. And I think we're ready for a giveaway. What do you think, Story?
I think so too. Miss Russell, do you mind doing me a favor and telling people exactly what you do and why this is even important to you in your career field and what exactly you're doing right now, so they know why you're on here, why you're so passionate about destiny driven, and why exactly you are, taking initiative on these topics that you are today.
Well, I'm a teacher by trade. I'm an English teacher, and I started doing debate because I wanted our kids to think critically. I wanted our kids to be able to write and to articulate themselves. And debate is a wonderful way to do that. So we started Destiny Driven because we realized that kids have a voice. A lot of times, I know when I was a child, I was always told to be seen and not heard. But when I became a teacher, I realized that if you listen a little bit, a lot of times these kids have the answers to a lot of our problems, and they have answers to a lot of solutions. So we started doing debate, and I realized that debate is not divisive, but really it's a way to bring everyone together, to bring controversial topics, things that people sometimes don't want to talk about because they don't want to step on people's toes. But when you open your mouth and you begin to talk about it, you realize that if we just have a dialogue, we can really bring about a change. And that's what Destiny Driven is all about. It's about helping children find out what their destiny is, and so that they can begin to be a light and to help other people. So that's who I am. I teach. I love giving people a voice, and I realize that if you give them that voice, you'll be surprised what they can come up with. And that's why it's so important to me.
Definitely. Thank you so much, and we appreciate you driving through and of course staying consistent and educating our students. Like you said, we want to go ahead and do a giveaway. I like to say we have almost 75 people on the live right now. That's beautiful. So that means that there are 75 people that we have to go ahead and choose from to give a giveaway to. For all the callers who are on right now, if you don't mind muting yourself while we do the giveaway, just so we can hear everything that's going on. So we got almost 80 people now, Ms. Russell. Oh my gosh, I don't know what to say. So how exactly do you want to do this first giveaway? And do you want to do the $25, or we got money to give away today? So
we got money to give away. Let's do two 25 and 150. Now for the 50 and for these over here, I don't want y'all just to say hello. We want y'all to be really engaged. So engage a lot. So we're gonna give these at the end, but let's do two 25s right now with the kids in the breakout room.
Okay, so
go ahead, give me a name, and then whoever he says, just drop it down in the bottom.
I've been seeing Isaiah Perry Jr. a lot. Isaiah Perry Jr., if you're still on right now, I'm feeling your comments a little bit. So if you're here, let us know if you want that prize or not. But if you don't want it, we'll go ahead and give it to somebody else. Matter of fact,
Isaiah, drop your Cash App down below. Drop your Cash App.
Drop your Cash App. And you said we have one more person.
Yeah, let's do another $25 one. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. I'm filling our students in here right now. If you're a college student, I need you to go ahead and pick a number from 1 through 10. Whoever gets closest to that number, that's who we're gonna go with. But let's go ahead and start dropping those numbers right now if you're a college student.
Okay, they ain't dropping no numbers. So we gonna move up to the $50.
Ooh, somebody said 7. I think we should. Ooh, that's a good number. And that's the number that was in my head. That's the crazy part. So whoever said 7, I need you to go ahead and drop your Cash App right now. And that is Miss Lawrence. I need you to drop your Cash App right now, so we can go ahead and get you that 25.
And I think our kids are out of the breakout room. Is Michaela here? All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started with the negative rebuttal. Miss Negay Fall. Negay, take it away. Negay is still in the breakout room?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so Negay just gave y'all about a minute left, another minute for a giveaway. I don't see my number yet. I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 10.
I could just imagine.
And I don't see it. I see it close. We're gonna give it to Monique. Monique, my favorite number is 3. You said 4, so we're gonna give it to you, Monique. Monique, go ahead and drop your Cash App down below. I think Negay is here. Negay, it's your turn for the affirmative. You have 3 minutes, sweetheart. Go ahead and start now.
Okay. Does anybody know for sure when the coronavirus will end? Does anyone know? No one does. No one can tell you the exact dates of when this pandemic will end. But you know what they can do? What they can tell you? Give you theories of what might happen or when it will end. Tell me, what's going to happen when the coronavirus sticks around longer than we think? Let's say 2 years. Are schools still going to be shut down instead of facing reality and knowing that no matter if you are at school or not, there's still a chance you might catch this virus? My name is Negay Fall, and I will be arguing on the negative side of should students go back to school. Justification 1, dropouts. Widespread school closures come with devastating costs, and one of those costs is school dropouts, or let's say virtual dropouts. The current rate of for high school dropout is 5.4%. 2.1 million status dropouts between the ages 16 through 24. Based on an LA school report, 55% of teachers said that students have not been reporting to remote classes. For example, a student named Danielle Gonzalez, 17, outside of his shuttered school, the Maywood Center for Enriched Studies in Los Angeles County. Danielle said that only about half of his classmates joined the video conference calls for class. In quote, he said, most are under the impression that school is optional given the circumstances we are in. Educators say that some students and their parents have dropped out of touch with school completely, unavailable by phone, email, or any form of communication. Not sending us to school is going to increase our country's education gap and worsen racial and social inequalities. Justification 2, greater risk of abuse, neglect, explosion, and violence. Based on national statistics on child abuse, at least 1 in 7 children have experienced child abuse and or neglect in the past year. In 2018, nearly 1,700 children died of abuse and neglect. Child abuse is common, so common that it has to be talked about. Some kids look forward to going to school, only to get away from the awful lifestyle that they're in at home. While child abuse and neglect can leave emotional and physical scars, it also leaves trauma and toxic stress. Like my partner said, what about Sarah, who was beaten by her drunken dad? What about Taylor, who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather? Or what about the hundreds and thousands of kids who go through the unknown every day? What about them? Are we really going to take away the 8 hours of day where they might feel like they're safe? Justification 3, kids with disabilities. How do you think kids with disabilities are going to be able to get the help that they really need? They need to be able to learn on one-on-one with students. They can't sit behind a computer and be able to understand things the way that we can. Closing schools will mean that another individual, other than the certified or licensed instructor, will have to learn to properly learn how to care for their child. The negative side is arguing not everyone will take these precautions seriously, that you might have kids who won't obey and not wear their mask. The United States have failed to put necessary systems in place. But let's also be clear that it did not have to be this way. Many countries around the world have shown that there is a way to control the number of cases. And if they can, so can we. The affirmative side is going to come up here and say, kids shouldn't go back to school. It's a risk. Don't you think that it's also a risk that many people go out every day to parties and clubs mixed with people who might have this virus? Don't you also think it's a risk that parents are going to have to work? What if they bring back something to their home? And I'm also sure students are not going to stay at home. They're eventually going to go go out? What if they bring back something? We keep saying that is a risk. We shouldn't send them back because it's not safe. But don't you know that every day you step foot outside of this world, you're putting yourself at risk of catching this virus too? So if we know that no matter what, we're still putting ourselves at some type of risk, why not put that risk in something that's actually important, like your education? Thank you. I'm done.
Great job, Nagay. Now we're going to have our negative rebuttal from Maya Boyd. You have 3 minutes, sweetheart.
Okay, I'm rebutting both of them, correct?
Yes.
Okay, both parties stated the abuse of children. While children abuse is a serious issue, will that child still not have to face abuse after school? We need to address child abuse at its root by offering resources to kids and ways for them to feel safe without jeopardizing the lives of millions by reopening schools. And you stated do you know how many children abuse has completely stopped since they are going to school? They go back home at night. They're gonna experience it again.
But it's less of a risk. Like, it's not less of a risk, but if they're at school, they're not getting beaten by their parents. They might get beaten when they're at home, but it's less of it. They might feel safe when they're at school.
In addition to that, when you go to school and when you're around other people, not the other people who you're constantly raised around, someone from that school, the guidance counselor, or per se even a teachers are instructed to report incidents or things that children see or deem or that they do is kind of speculated. So taking a child to school would further ensure and or at least give someone else insight into saying, hey, are you okay? You have a black eye today. Or, hey, are you okay? You're kind of quiet. Hey, are you okay? You look kind of depressed. Hey, are you thinking about suicide? When you're at home in 4 walls by yourself, or not necessarily by yourself, but with someone else, no one else can say, oh, are you okay?
Some children, you can have other resources in school. You can have counseling. The purpose of school is not to stop abuse. Not saying that it's not a major issue, because it is, but that's not the purpose of school. You're risking millions of children's lives because over 1,000 kids are being abused.
Yes, but the CDC states that the in-person school environment not only provides educational instruction, but it supports mental health, safety, speech, reliable nutrition, and opportunities for physical activity, and supports a child's social and emotional skills. So once again, if you're at home, and I noticed that you said in your argument, you said some children, but we have to think about all children in this case. And so leaving a child at home with, again, probably no supervision, because that's extra money that parents who can't afford funding right now or are struggling with financial problems, they can't pay someone to sit at home. And on top of that, it's less of a risk, and a child will be able to be noticed by someone else as a teacher or as a guidance counselor saying, hey, are you okay?
Okay, you keep saying that that's your parents, that the parent doesn't have enough money. You also said that they didn't have enough money before the coronavirus started. That has nothing to do with us. Trump gave everyone a stimulus check, and they also gave $500 per child. So them not having money has nothing to do with us.
So you think that the stimulus check is going to take care of everyone? Like, those checks aren't really doing anything for their families.
You're getting $500 per child, and you have an extra check. That is what it's for.
It's depending on how you spend it. If you spend it irresponsibly, then of course you're not going to have enough money for your child.
Exactly. And then on top of that, virtual schooling would mean that those parents who already don't have enough money would have to think about buying a new computer for their child to do learning.
You don't have to buy another computer. Schools are providing Wi-Fi buses. They're providing laptops. All you have to do is go pick it up.
And the students with limited resources now, without Wi-Fi and computers, they're being prioritized first rather than the students who already have those resources.
Ooh, and this was a good one. And I heard you say "and," but you're gonna have to get it on the closing arguments. I hate to do this to y'all, and if you're like me in the audience, you're probably like, "Oh, don't stop them," because they're going at it. But we do have to move on. So now we're having our closing arguments. But if you still want to argue in the comments, we want to hear what you have to say. So go ahead and comment down below and like and love this page and let them know that they're doing good. So now we have our closing argument. comments. We're going to start with Haley Mullins. Haley, you have 2 minutes.
In closing, if a child's education is important as you say it is, we must prioritize these children first. Sending them to school will only put them at risk of getting sick and taking it home to their mom, dad, grandparents, or even their puppy. The only right decision to do is make them learn virtually in a safe environment. It's new to us all. Try something new. You may never know the outcome of it. Money can't be an issue. Accommodations will be made for those special children, and it's better to be safe than sorry.
Thank you, Haley. And that was the closing argument for the negative, that you should not reopen schools. Now we have closing arguments for the affirmative, that you should reopen schools. Michaela, you have 2 minutes.
Okay. To conclude, reopening schools for the 2020-2021 school year is a must, a necessity, and a responsibility that we must uphold. Virtual schooling is nothing new. It's not like we had a pandemic and we are trying to reopen schools. And trying to do school virtually. Opening schools favors disadvantaged kids. They have the right to a free and public education under the IDEA Act, as well as Every Student Succeed Act. It would be less of a burden on their families and put the children with a comfortable learning environment familiar to them. It would also help ensure that no student would be left behind. Moreover, reopening schools protects a child's well-being and promotes social, mental, and speech skills children will need for life. To get that job interview, to write a speech for a leadership position, even to write this speech. We learned how to do all of these things in school, not over the phone or in a Zoom call in your bedroom. I agree that reopening schools is a decision that is not an easy one. But I do agree in the fact that reopening schools would be in the best interest of the children who uphold our future. The children who are going to carry on your legacy. The children who are going to be the next Michelle Obamas, the next Oprahs, the next Einsteins, the next Kobe Bryants, or what so have you. But we must consider the purpose of school, the logic behind it, and the well-being to the next generation that upholds our future. Thank you.
This was an intense debate. And
Great.
they did amazing. And I'm their coach, so I can't judge them. I need you all to tell me who you thought won. So in the comments below, let me know if they are for the affirmative, the negative, or what do we have? Yes, Les Maya?
I'm sorry, but I didn't do my speech.
I'm sorry. I cut you off. Go ahead, sweetheart.
Okay. If the meeting to reopen school is held online because it is not safe, should we really be discussing reopening schools? If we open schools, they will inevitably close. Cases will spread no matter how many masks are given out or temperatures are taken. You can take a person's temperature in the morning and they still catch COVID by the end of the day. In fact, according to the National Liberty of Medicine, many children with COVID-19 are asymptomatic and may not show any symptoms at all and still spread the virus. Opening schools is not only a danger to us all. Opening schools is not only a danger to the students and the faculty, but to us all. Medical professionals of Johns Hopkins Medical Center say the second wave of COVID-19 will be here by fall and coincide with flu season. The chances of containing the spread of the virus will decrease even more if the child infected is not identified early on. EPS states, hand sanitizer and or soap will be available in restrooms and classrooms. As a student in the Montgomery Public School System, I can attest to the fact that custodians rarely keep the school stocked with soap, hand sanitizer, tissue, or paper towels. A lot of students will go today without even having to go into the restroom because there is no soap or paper towel. Have you thought about what will happen if a teacher tests positive for COVID-19? Will the entire school be informed or only the students in her class? Since that teacher now has COVID, will the students be required to get tested or quarantined before returning to school? Who will pay for their test? If the teacher tests positive for COVID-19, will they receive paid sick leave? Are there enough substitutes available to step in case of a possible outbreak? COVID-19 is able to linger in the air for a long period of time. Disinfecting surfaces will only work if those surfaces are constantly cleaned throughout the day. NPS states, students will be provided with masks, but there is a limited supply at each and every school. Parents will be required to provide masks for their children when the supply of masks is depleted. However, a lot of parents struggle to provide their children with a backpack and school supplies. So how will we be able to make sure they will be equipped with their masks? Will students be sent home if they don't have masks? The most dangerous thing we can do is open schools prematurely and put not only teachers at risk, but their families and society as a whole. There are too many questions unanswered. All it takes is one teacher or one student to test positive, call a massive community outbreak. Thank you.
Awesome job. Did I cut anybody else off? I hope not. So that concludes this portion of the debate. And again, like I said, I'm their coach, and I think everyone did phenomenally. So congratulations to all you ladies. Go ahead and send them some love in the comments, but let us know. I want to know, who do you think? I want y'all to decide, because I can't do it. Now we're going to go into our panel discussion. We have a panel of experts that's going to talk about this. Story, before we do that, do you have anything you want to say?
Oh, definitely. First, I just want to say I need everybody in the live right now to drop green hearts. If you all don't know, green is the color of mental health. Nagay made a very, very, very bold point that we have to still consider our mental health. We have to consider young youth's mental health, because mental health is something that is truly presiding in our community, in the United States, all over the world, where we are struggling with mental health right now. So I need everybody to drop a green heart for mental health. I need to see as many green hearts as I can. Also, please do not forget, these prizes, they come from you all being in tune, you all being interactive. Invite a friend. I know somebody has their kids right next to them. You need to tell them to get off the TV. You need to tell them to come pull up and listen to this conversation, because these young youth debaters are doing an amazing job. They are doing phenomenal. So that's all I wanted to say for now, but I need you all to be interactive. I need those green hearts. And I need you all to tell us if the negative side is winning, if the affirmative side is winning. And somebody said in the comments that COVID-19 has exposed a lot that we were missing to the world. And I think Isaiah Perry said that, but that is so true. And if you all don't mind, if we missed anything, I need you all to put in the comments what exactly you feel like we have raised awareness to that has been truly quiet throughout our normal day-to-day lives before COVID-19, and tell us exactly what we're missing. Ms. Russ, I'm gonna go ahead and hand it back over to you.
I'm glad you brought that comment up, because that was the first question that I have for our panelists. I want to introduce the panel. Once again, we have an expert and a virtual learning consultant. We have Ms. Smith, and she is a school board member. We have Ms. Bennett, who is a parent in MPS, and also her children are the founders of Women in Training. And we have Ms. Williams, who is the founder of Black Alabamians for Education. And the first question I guess I have is, he talked about the fact that COVID-19 has exposed so many different inequalities. What are some of those inequalities that you think that COVID-19 has exposed, and do you think that they can be eradicated soon? Go ahead, Ms. Bennett. You're on mute, Ms. Bennett.
Excuse me. Hi, everybody. I'm Adiela Bennett, and I'm the CEO of Women in Training, as Ms. Russell mentioned. When COVID-19 hit, at the time I was working at a small private school, and my daughters were attending the school they still attend, which is a large private school. And so the difference in resources was, the difference was immediately visible. The week before spring break, at my daughter's school, which is the large private school, all of the administration made sure that each child had a device, which they already had. At the beginning of the school year, every child is assigned an iPad or a MacBook, depending on their grade level. So they already had them, but they made sure the IT person came and double checked that everything was working well, and they downloaded various apps that the teachers said that they would need during the time of virtual learning. They trained the teachers on how to do instruction via technology, virtual school, and they trained the children as well. So then we had spring break. They came back. I tell you, the kids were at home, but the school day went the same. At 8 o'clock, school began. They went to homeroom, then they went to period 1, period 2, period 3, and etc. through period 6. And the school day ended at 3 o'clock as it normally did, without a hitch. Sometimes my daughter said they learned better that way. They certainly enjoyed sitting in. They certainly enjoy sitting in their bedrooms learning, and they'd wear their school uniform top. They wore their school uniform. Excuse me. They would wear their school uniform top and pretend that they had the whole uniform on. They enjoyed. They gave them breaks between classes, so they enjoyed running downstairs and picking up a snack, something that they couldn't do at school. So they enjoyed it. Although by the end, they were ready to be over with it. But the resources were there. On the other hand, the small private school where I worked, the week before spring break, we decided that we were going to do virtual school. So the decision was made. However, we assumed, I think, that the children would have access to resources. But after spring break, school started back. 90% of the children did not have access to a resource. They had in a family of like 4 children, they were all sharing one phone, or one iPad, or one computer, or one laptop. So you had multiple people sharing one device. And then many of the people who did have devices didn't have Wi-Fi. The parents had, they had purchased limited Wi-Fi, but after about a week, that was gone.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned that, Ms. Bennett, because that leads us to our second question about the learning gap. We already know that there is a learning gap in education. When I've been talking to people, some people feel like virtual learning will increase that learning gap for people who don't have those resources, but other people feel like virtual learning is something that can help everyone and bring everyone closer together. And I know we have a virtual learning consultant and other people that can speak to that. So do you think that virtual learning will increase this learning gap, or do you think that it can be the great equalizer?
Are you speaking to me or the other people?
Let's hear from Ms. Sanders.
Okay.
Okay, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, hi guys. Hi everybody. I'm Marilyn Sanders, as Ms. Russell already mentioned. I am the founder of MN Consulting, which is an instructional support agency, and one of our offerings is virtual training on virtual learning, which is, I think, why Ms. Russell has me on this panel. I think that virtual learning has to be an extra resource that teachers use. I don't necessarily think it can replace classroom learning at any time, but it can definitely be used to just to provide a different element to education and teaching. And it's so unfamiliar for so many educators, especially in our low income schools. So I definitely think it can be a tool that can be used to just increase our resources, our ways in which we familiar ourselves with students, because a lot of us teachers we have to get in tune with 2020 and the resources that we have at hand. I want to kind of go back, Ms. Russell, to the question before that you just asked. And one of the points that I wrote down, because I'm taking notes, is that I work in a school district, and our students were pretty familiar with doing virtual learning with the computerized programs that my school had. So when we transitioned, which happened instantly, when we transitioned from the school when COVID-19 hit and went to virtual learning, it was a smooth transition because our students and our teachers had already been trained on it. The only kind of hiccup that we had was that our parents weren't that familiar with it. But if we could have included that element with training the parents, it would have worked very, very smooth, opposed to me working in Montgomery public school system. I don't know if I should say that or not, but opposed to me working in other school districts, I'll say that, where I find that the level of computers, laptops the students don't have access to them.
And Sanders, you made a really good point about professional development and professional development for parents. Because I laugh sometimes when I talk to parents and they talk about new math and they say, I don't know how to do this math. So I'm trying to teach these kids and I don't want to give them any misinformation. And this question, I guess, could be for Ms. Smith. since we're going virtual, is there an outline, or are we providing parents with professional development, or is there some way that they can help the students since they will be virtual for the first 9 weeks?
Well, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone. I'm delighted to be here and I thoroughly enjoyed the debate. Very good question. So to answer your question, on each of our school websites, there is a link that parents will have access to. In fact, I Googled it as they were debating as it came up to make sure it was there, that will teach the parents about the platform that we'll be using this year. It's a video that they can follow along with to kind of help their children as they are going into this new venture of education, at least, well, I won't say temporarily, because I think some of this will be a new part of the new normal as well. So there is support there. We also, through our parent engagement department, there will be some things taking place to connect to parents, be it through the school or through the central office itself. I've not gotten all the details right now, but as information comes out, it will be communicated to the parents. So that is what I know as of now.
Thank you. And this question could be for Ms. Williams. The debaters they brought a lot of good points of things that I hadn't even thought about. They talked about students with disabilities, IEPs. They talked about students who are dealing with sexual abuse and child abuse and hunger abuse. And these are reasons why students should be coming into the schools to kind of get away from all of the things they deal with at home. But then yesterday I saw a post on Facebook where the classrooms were surrounded, or in the hallways were full. So it seems like it's a catch-22. From your perspective, what do you think would be a good way to kind of make a middle ground where we're not leaving children at home to deal with those issues, but also not forcing them to come to school and exposing our children and potentially our whole communities to COVID?
Yeah, so that's an excellent question. Shout out to everybody, to all the debaters. You all, ladies, you all did a phenomenal job. I am honored to be a part of this panel, just to be able to be in this conversation based on your affirmatives and your rebuttals. They were absolutely amazing. I couldn't vote. I refused to vote just because I think your points were great. So I'm going to ask your latter question, but I wanted to bring out some additional points around your initial question on what did COVID-19 expose. And as a parent advocacy organization, one of the things that we've talked about consistently is that there is a system in our educational system. We have created a system of perpetual poverty, meaning that when it comes to education, we already get less based on zip codes. We already get less based on, and so if I'm a multi-generational person in the same community, how am I going to break this cycle of poverty? And then we talk about higher ed. If I'm not exposed to or told to consider certain career fields, I'm going to end up with a degree in basket weaving with a whole bunch of debt that's not going to get me a job in basket weaving. So some of the things that COVID-19 exposed, when we talk about just in general when it happened, and you all have really already brought up some of these points, but access to meals. I think that the public, we are learning that the schools have played a greater role than just being a school building and just delivering education for K-12 students. So mental health has been discussed. We've also talked about disparities in access to devices, access to internet. I think something else that COVID has exposed is who is actually rearing our children. Many students are coming from non-traditional households where there are neighbors, there are great-grandparents, there are grandparents, and there are some parents, both single and dual parent household, who are rearing children that are struggling with all of these challenges that you all have already talked about. So to answer your latter question around what can we do to build or bridge that gap in the middle, I think it's going to take community. And that's something that we do not hear discussed in these conversations. We have faith-based organizations who have beautiful emphases all across this state, all across the country, where the sanctuaries are empty, their buildings are empty. Who is looking to build those relationships with those entities? I mean, yes, having school buses in communities with access to Wi-Fi is great, but then who's going to be able to connect that? And I do think that the concerns around how do we bridge that gap? How do we close some of that gap? Some of the debaters talked about the CARES Act resources, the monies that was received, what that was or have been received. And I know you all are from Montgomery, and so I just want to put it out there. Montgomery, according to the state website, received $12,491,516 specifically for CARES Act resources to assist in some of the challenges that may be happening, whether that is to hire additional staff, for supplies, to close the access to technology gap. There is monies that have been put in place. I recommend that some of those dollars are actually considered, and it's going to take work on behalf of school leaders, but to be able to go back and look at how many of your students were actually victims of sexual abuse. Did it come from a certain community? Did it come from a certain neighborhood? Was it coming from a certain household? And try to funnel some of those resources back into that community to make certain that maybe there are some signs or some partnerships or something that's been created. I mean, this is something that none of us have ever seen before. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, but I definitely think it's going to take community. We're gonna have to bring in that convenience store. We're gonna have to bring in, the business owner of that convenience store. Who's hanging out at those stores? Who's hanging out at Dollar General? Who are the foreign people that are around that shouldn't be there? Foreign meaning they are not there for activities that's conducive to whatever services that are provided at that place. I mean, it's really going to take community to be able to build that. It's not something that can be done in isolation of the district having, because it's unfair that the district and the leaders have to make that decision. It's unfair that school leaders are having to make that decision. We've gotten our guidelines from the CDC, from the U.S. Department of Education, to the U.S. Secretary of Education, to our state superintendent, to our local superintendents, who's then giving that down to those principals. But the reality is, it's going to be those educators and those students and those parents. We cannot leave our parents. It has to be a partnership with parents about, what that looks like. Some parents are really not technological savvy, and we make the assumption that just because almost everybody has a cell phone, that they have access to the internet. That's not true. I mean, that's just simply not true. But I do think that it's going to take community. So I'll stop talking because you may have more questions, but I definitely think it takes community.
I'm really glad that you brought that up, because like the old proverb said, it takes a village to raise a child. And I remember when I was younger, my mom would tell my church members and my teachers and anybody, she said, if you see my child acting up, go ahead and get them. And I think that's important to let you know, because we all have to come together to make sure that these children succeed. We're going to go ahead and get to the comments, because we have 3 gifts to give away, and then we'll end it. So Story, who we giving the gifts to?
So right now I see Anton Stubbs is really active in this chat. Danny Johnson, if I'm pronouncing that right, has been very active on the live. And it is one more person that I've been seeing so much, and that is, I just had their name. Let me get down. Oh, that is Miss Jennifer Adams. Those are the 3 people who I've been seeing the most in the chat. What I will say is that for everybody who's tuning in, we just want to say thank you once again, because this has been a truly amazing conversation. We want to thank our panelists, beautiful Black women who are stepping in and taking initiative wherever you all are. And we just want to say thank you. But those are the 3 people who I see the most. Again, that is Anton Stubbs. Drop your Cash App, or we're doing the giveaway.
We're doing
so I'm gonna hand that over to you.
Yeah, so what I want you to do, I just put my email in. Those 3 names that he named out, I want you to email me. If you have an iPhone, we'll get you the iPods. If not, we have the Amazon Echo, and we have the headphones right here. So go ahead and email me. I want to thank everyone. I want to thank first the young ladies. If it was summertime for me, not be researching. I'll be trying to be outside, playing Fortnite, doing everything but looking up research. But these kids meet every week, and they're dedicated and they ask questions and they're passionate about it. It takes a lot to first research both ends of the topic, argue that topic, and then do it in front of 60 plus people. So I'm so proud of you, young ladies. And I know that you have greatness inside of you, and I'm so excited to see what you have. Again, I want to thank the panelists for being here. You took an hour out of your Sunday. You could be doing anything, but you've been here with us. Ms. Smith, we want to thank you because we know you from the board, and this is the type of support that we need. This is the type of support that we love. So we want to thank you for being here and supporting our young people. Sanders, Miss Williams, Miss Bennett, thank you for taking your time out. And we also want to thank everyone out in the audience. You could be relaxing, you could be cooking, you could be with your family, but you're out here to hear these kids talk about a very important topic. And it's important. From the bottom of my heart, as the founder of Destiny Driven, I thank you so much. We're gonna just end on this note. I know that when the pandemic first hit, I was devastated because I had all this stuff planned for Destiny Driven, and we were going to travel, we were going to do this. So this is something I was fearful of, but the Lord had other plans, and we started doing virtual, and it's just been blessing after blessing after blessing. So one thing that I was afraid of, I actually became excited about. So now I'm like, not only can we reach people here in Montgomery, but we can reach people from all over the nation. People have been commenting from all over. So I want you all, because there may be parents, it's parents that's bringing their kids to school tomorrow, and they're afraid because they don't know if these masks are going to be enough. It's teachers that's going into new terrain. There are people here that have to figure out how they're going to take their kid or have their kid at home while they go to work. So I want you just to give an encouraging word, something that you may have been fearful of, but something that you can be excited about moving forward. We also want to remind everyone that November 3rd, we want to invite everyone out to go ahead and Ms. Erica said November 3rd, we ask the viewers in Montgomery to vote in favor of increasing funding in the school systems. That is very important. So November 3rd, make sure you go out and vote because we need money. As a teacher, we need money in the school system. So go ahead and to do that. And we also want to encourage you to look out to see what we're doing here in Destiny Driven. We have some more debates coming up within the next couple of months, and everyone that's on here now, we want you +1. So invite a friend, invite your family, invite somebody to come out. We're gonna start with you, Sanders, Miss Bennett, Miss Williams, and then Miss Smith. Something that maybe you were afraid of, but now you're excited in regards to this new school year, and then we'll close from there. Go ahead, Miss Sanders.
I will say that once my school district decided to go back face to face, I was very nervous. I prayed about it. I was nervous that I wouldn't be able to provide the normal type of class setting that I do. It's very hands-on, very personable. And the last thing I would want to do as an educator is go into a classroom and not give my kids 100%. So I was very, very nervous about that. But I prayed about it. I'm letting go and let God, and I'm just going to go in there and do the best I can and try to make my kids feel as comfortable as they can under this circumstance that is just very scary for us all. So with that said, I'm ready to go back, and I'm just ready to touch, well, maybe not touch, but air hug my kids.
Awesome. Okay, Miss Bennett.
For once, I actually don't have anything to say. My kids have gone back, they started school back on Friday. And it's a blended system where half of the school comes Mondays and Wednesdays, and the other half comes Tuesdays and Thursdays. And the days you're not in the building, you're doing virtual school. And then on Friday, everybody does virtual school half day. I'm very nervous, so it's really kept me on my knees a lot. Kept me on my knees a lot. So I can't even say what I'm excited about related to it, because just pray for me and for all of our children.
Absolutely.
Yes, definitely pray for our children, pray for our nations, pray for our teachers. It's definitely praying time. So we're going to continue to keep everyone in prayer. Miss Williams, do you have anything?
I do. I have two things. One is separate from what you asked for, but I wanted to share to everybody that's listening. On Tuesday, on Black Alabamians for Education's website, we are going to have Charter Communications and Comcast Communications on live talking about their Internet Essentials program. This is a program that affords families to have access to internet for $10 a month. And so you all please share that out. It's a partnership within a partnership. I mean, I think Comcast and Charter are competitors. So the fact that they're going to come on board and they're going to talk about this Internet Essentials program is for low-income families. They also have programs for college students as well. And so please share that out. Now, my comment, I believe that we have to marry the vision, but date the method. Marry the vision, but date the method. The vision is that we want all of our scholars to finish this academic year with what they need to be prepared to be propelled in the next academic level, whether that is K-12 or collegiate level. But the thing that keeps us positive is that we got to date the method. You know, if you've been single before, you've been dating different jokers or joker girls out here, and you're like, that's not it. We got to just kind of stay open about what this looks like and know that we are not in this alone, that there are folks all across the country. So I think we've got to broaden our networks as leaders, as educators, as parents, as students. Talk to your peers and your colleagues about what you're doing and stay encouraged. Everybody's mental health is extremely important, but we've got to be in this together. I think we're going to come out of this or on the other side, and I think that that school choice is going to expand, and that we're going to be able to see that we can really accomplish what we need to accomplish, and not just the normal traditional way that we've been doing it. So it's going to push us, but we can do it. We've all talked about having God in our life and talked about prayer. There's no way that he has not already fully equipped us with what we need to be able to be successful in this academic year. So marry the vision, date the method. That's all I got.
Hey, Miss Russell.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say one thing before we leave. I want to say thank you for allowing us to come on here and have this dialogue with each other, because one of the things that I've kind of been frustrated with as an educator is that it feels like we're always eliminated from the decision making. Like the parents, the educators, the students, it always feels like other people are making these decisions that are affecting us. And so this just to be able to be on here and to hear other perspectives, to hear the students' perspective, it was really awesome. I thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you. I'm just trying to do God's work. So thank you very much. And we're going to end with Miss Smith. Miss Smith, do you have anything that you would like to say?
I'm sorry. Can I say one thing before we continue? Ms. Sanders, I just want to say that just hit home. For everybody who's interacting in the chat, I need you to put "we have a voice." That's for my college students. That is for my educators. That is for people who work within these schools, because essentially I truly do feel like that as a student as well, is that we don't have that voice all the time, and that it's not allocated to us, as if, we're not going to be affected by those decisions. So I need everybody who's interacting right now to give Ms. Sanders and everybody who spoke a shout as well. But that was a very, very, very strategic comment that you made.
Well, yes. I just want to say I too am just glad to be here as a board member, sitting, listening to all perspectives. I've learned so much. I also took notes, and the young man was correct. Sometimes that student voice and those teacher voices are not necessarily a part of the discussions. So as a board member, I also came literally from the classroom to the board seat. And so I'm thankful to sit there as an educator, bringing that voice with me. I have children in the district, and my personal children talk to me, and so I get a chance to dialogue with them as well, and other students. So you'll hear some things coming from MPS on changing the culture in our district and being more inclusive on that. But one of the things that I'm nervous about is making sure we're making, as board members, the best decisions, and trying to get around a lot of the politics. I honestly, I don't think politics has any place when it comes to making decisions that are going to impact children and teachers and education overall. So that's, I just wanted to just leave it there. I just don't feel that politics has its place, um, especially in a time like this. And I don't have to expound on it. We just know what's happening at the national level. So.
Well, I want to thank you very much. And I really love what Story said. We have a voice, because that's the whole reason why I created Destiny Driven, is to give students a voice. So often they have so many ideas and so many emotions, but they just don't feel like they have a voice. So if you have a child that feels like then you want their voice to be heard, if they're opinionated or they may be quiet, we want you to go ahead and send us an email. We would love to have your child. We would love to train them. You see the greatness that our children are doing. These children are letting their voices be heard, and we want to hear your child's voice as well. And speaking of that, we're not going to belabor the hour any further. The audience judges have said that that the negative have won. So the negative, y'all have $100 coming your way. The affirmative, you have $50 coming your way. Thank you very much. You know, I love y'all like you're my own, so I'm so excited. We're thinking the next debate is going to be about defunding the police, unless another hot topic pops up. So we want you all to join in next time. And until then, remember that you do have a voice, and always remember to be destiny driven. Thank you all, and y'all have a good evening.